Pro Football Hall of Famer Howie Long here on the Rich Eisen Show. Honored, pleased to have you. But this you can't buzz this. This is hand cut, and I do believe the person.
Yeah, but that's what, a number 1 clipper, number 2 clipper.
No, there's no clipper. I can't have clippers
He
because
makes them use scissors.
It's not. I make them. It has to be that way because if you clip it, it grows in and it looks like a chia pet, and it's awful. I'm serious. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, the same person who cuts my hair cuts your hair at Fox, Roxy.
Roxy?
Yeah.
Great. Roxy's the best.
She is.
Yeah, she's the best.
How about that? We're the Roxy Hair Club for men right here.
If she's chewing gum on a Saturday night when she's cutting my hair before a broadcast, though, I'm concerned she might have been down at the bar.
Uh-oh.
That's always concerned. Because if you it's almost like you have to do it with a leveler. You know, if you're a little bit off, the whole you got to tilt your head a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
Roxy had a couple of pops last night.
Uh-oh. Thankfully, I see her at 1:30 in the afternoons.
Yes. Well, that doesn't mean anything with Roxy. But she's getting help.
Pro Football Hall of Famer, NFL on Fox analyst Howie Long joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Vince Scully was here in hour number 2, and it was an honor to have him phone in. Oh my, you kidding me?
You could just play the audio from For the Love of the Game.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, just
the Costner movie,
and that's a scripted movie, but that's those kinds of things. You know, having played in L.A. here and listened to him for so many years on the radio driving in my truck, special. The equivalent would be Joe Green for me. My rookie year, played up in Oakland, roomed with a guy by the name of Cedric Hardman, who, for San Francisco 49er fans, was part of the Gold Rush with Cleveland Elam. Great pass rusher and a character. Played at North Texas with Joe Green, was Joe Green's roommate in college. So my rookie year, we're playing out in Oakland, the Steelers on Monday Night Football, and the equivalent of you sitting down with Vince Scully is Joe Green comes over to our apartment in Oakland and has dinner. I'm sitting at the table with Joe Green.
And what was that like?
You know, surreal. And then fast forward to 2000 when I went in the Hall of Fame. You know, Hall of Fame parties are a lot like weddings. They're almost for everybody else, and you don't know half the people in the room. But after the DJ leaves and they clear the tables and people start to leave, it was, God, I don't know what time of night it was. It was just me and Joe Green sitting there at the table at about probably 12:31 in the morning, having a beer. And it's, you know, it's a great bookend, front end and back end. And for you, Vince Scully has to be.
I mean,
you're Joe Green.
Oh, absolutely. Marv Albert, you know, is another all-timer for me. Dick Enberg, who's called so many Super Bowls, he's retiring this year as well, doing San Diego Padres broadcasts. Marshall Faulk tells a great story about Joe Green, about how he was playing against the Cardinals when Joe Green was on the Cardinals staff on the sideline.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals players were just barking at the Rams the whole game, barking at them. And then Marshall went off on a big run and started barking at the Cardinals bench, just going right down the line. And he realized in the middle of his barking, he barked at Mean Joe Green. And at the end of his barking, he went back and said, "I didn't mean you, Mr. Green."
Yeah, Joe's.
That's what he said to him.
Joe's a card-carrying bad man.
Yes.
Good man. Good man, and someone who I admired a great deal coming out, having played at Villanova outside of Philadelphia, was a big Steelers fan, and it's ironic that I'm spending 23 years now with Terry Bradshaw.
That's right. How about that? I've got Howie Long here in the Rich Eisen Show studio. What do you make of Rex bouncing his offensive coordinator after last night, after just 2 games?
Makes sense, right? I don't know. I think when you're taking on water this early, and you know, Jim Kelly, who, you know, I think we all have a great deal of respect for.
Absolutely.
And, you know, having competed against Jim and have a great deal of admiration for him. When Jim says your job's on the line prior to the season, you know, and you start the season the way they've started, you know, you have to make changes. And I think when Rex is looking at his staff, he's certainly not going to look down the lineup and go, "Rob, you're gone." You know, and defensively they're depleted. And let's not put it in perspective. Who are you playing? That Jets defensive front,
no joke.
Man, are they loaded. a wealth of talent.
Where would you rank him in the NFL?
Depending upon what you want from a front, there are different styles of defense. What New England does, they try to take away what you like to do best and force you to do what you don't want to do. That group, left to right, can just beat the snot out of you on first down and then run by you on third down. And they're big, they're physical. I like the head coach in New York. I like his lineage. I like where he came from. He's a no-nonsense guy, and I like that front.
So when it all comes down to it, with the back end and the island back there, 24, there's a lot of talk that it's no longer an island. I guess my favorite tweet I saw last night on Twitter, guys, and I'm sure you're not on Twitter, Howie, is that somebody said, so I guess the Revis Island is
now...
No,
I'm not on Twitter. Is that a shock?
That it's not. It's not.
My hair.
Flat top.
Right.
I guess Revis Island is now a sandals resort, is what I saw. And, because Sammy Watkins took care of him in week 17 last year, and then A.J. Green had a festival in week 1, and then a world-class Olympic sprinter just goes right past him last night.
Yeah, well, A.J. Green's like Carnival Cruises, though. I mean, he's... The last time I saw someone really challenge A.J. Green, and if you get a chance, pull it up on film, it's Patrick Peterson in Arizona.
Joe Hayden also has some success against him
But Patrick Peterson was just up in the grill, going at it, and those two are just such elite talents. And we talked about it a little bit before I came on the air. The most physically demanding position in football is the one technique. Whoever you don't like put there, they're going to get just hammered with a baseball bat for 4 quarters.
Right in the middle of the defensive line.
The place that you're on the Autobahn at corner in today's NFL. And they're sticking Olympic level sprinters out there running nines and posts, and if you make one mistake, if you take one false step, you are truly on an island. And I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. The word coming out of New York is that he was a little bit dinged in the offseason, and he's just kind of rounding into shape. And if anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, and time will tell, is Darrelle Revis.
Well, Howie Long here on the Rich Eisen Show, but let's just say he is now of advancing years. He even mentioned...
Aren't we all?
Well, I know. He even mentioned in training camp in the summer that maybe, safety is in his future at some point. How do you broach the subject, though, if you're Todd Bowles? Do you wait for Darrelle Revis to say something like that again? Do you, in a quiet moment, take him aside and say, how about we roll somebody over the top here? I mean, how do you handle something like this, Howie?
I think he's a professional. He understands, the film tells you where you are, one way or the other. And I think Todd Bowles, at least from my experience in watching him, is a very direct guy, good or bad. And I think they'll assess where he is, and I think he'll have an honest conversation with him. But once again, the film is what the film is.
So we've got Cowboys-Redskins on Fox coming up this weekend. A game that I think is sneaky good, and I'm not going to miss it, is Buccaneers and Cardinals, with the Cardinals at 0-1, and Jameis Winston coming off of a great week number 1.
An angry Cardinals team.
They
really
should be. Don't you think? They should be angry?
I think they're disappointed in themselves. A depleted, both tackles out for New England, Gronk out, Brady out.
Ninkovich out.
Ninkovich out, yeah. And I think they view it as a lost opportunity. And we have a home out there in Arizona, and I know how good that football team is and how excited they are coming off of what they accomplished last year. And I think they were looking at this one as a W, understandably.
Well, how is Chris finding New England? I mean, in the Belichick world, one of your sons in the Belichick world right now. What can you share with us on that front? Not to turn you into Gronk's dad to share some stuff.
No,
but,
and I, like most Patriots, Chris gives me nothing.
He's just saying, "I'm doing my job, Dad. I just do your job, Dad."
We're on to.
That's what he's saying.
We're on to fill in the blank.
Miami this week. Yeah.
And I really don't. My style of being a parent of a player is more about X's and O's and more about who you're playing and looking at them on film. talking about formations or techniques or things like that. I don't press them on, hey, what's it like in the meeting room? What's Bill like? Or how do you prepare? You know, I've always been intrigued by the Patriots, how they prepare, how they maximize their talent. And I think if you could sum up in a sentence what the Patriots are all about, it's I can be you, you could be me, we're all interchangeable, therefore we're all replaceable. So it would be as if they had 2 or 3 people on the set here that can do your job, and if at any moment they can move someone in.
But what if they can't?
Which is not the case.
What you do exactly? I mean, what if there's people who are so thoroughly unqualified to maybe do something like that?
I mean,
And
2 or 3.
Uncoachable.
sketchy,
That's law.
lumberjackish.
That's law. Oh, well, that's law. Okay.
My man, he's ready.
Del Tufo's ready?
Del
Tufo? Howie.
So Brockman's sketchy, Law's lumberjackish.
Yeah. Don't you think he's sketchy?
Oh, Brockman's sketchy. I've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not sketchy.
No, you got a great group here.
Oh,
This
thank
is a
you.
great setup.
Thanks, Howie.
It ought to be illegal. El Segundo.
Yeah, left my wallet there once. So are you ready for the Las Vegas Raiders, Howie? Because some money's going to be ponied up, it seems, in Las Vegas by the community there. And it seems like a natural fit. I understand we're sitting here in Los Angeles and you're spent many years in
I think
Oakland.
if we've learned anything about the process, you know, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have miles to go before I sleep.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm not buying anything until it's official. They bought the name. I know
They have.
Yeah, they trademarked the name.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that I think, along with many former Raiders, I think we'd all like to see the Oakland Raiders stay in Oakland. The economics of it are a challenge, and the city has not been all that cooperative. Boy, you know, Mark is a man of his word, and I think he's done a great job since taking over the helm with the Raiders, and he's someone who, when he gives his word, he lives up to it. And I think the people in that building understand that now. And Jack's got, more importantly, Reggie, Jack, Mark, done a great job of assembling young talent. And you hit a home run on a quarterback in a later round. You know, Seattle had great success with that. Great young wide receiver. Khalil Mack is a 6-story building, and the elevator's on floor 3. There's 3 more floors to go. So a lot of excitement there on the field. I think that's the most important thing. And that's what I think that team and those players need to focus on.
What do you think Al would have thought of Jack going for 2 in New Orleans, game on the line, down 1? What do you think Al Davis would have thought?
You know,
of
I
that
was sitting
call?
with Jimmy, and, you know, I always kind of defer to Jimmy on
Johnson?
Yeah, on that kind of a situation. But when you think about it, you've struggled to deal with Drew Brees throughout the course of the day.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, you go for 1, you force it into overtime or give him a little bit of a clock and regulation, and then you've got to deal with him in overtime, and they're 1 drive away from scoring and forcing you to score a touchdown. Jack is a confident guy. He's a guy who has definitive expectations of his football team, and I think it sends a message, and I think it was the smart move. Whether they got it or not, Jimmy and I both sat there and agreed that it was the smart move, given that who the quarterback is on the opposite side.
And did you see the speech that he gave in the locker room afterwards
No.
on Raiders.com? Maybe we'll tee that up for the television audience. We'll show it to you in our television-only segment we're about to hit. But he did say, "Just win, baby," is what Del Rio said at the end of it. So,
well, Jack grew up in the area. Jack, I think, has an appreciation for the organization and its history. But as I said to the players when I spoke to them in training camp, history's great. Understand it, appreciate it, respect it. But it's time for this group to make their own history, and it really is.
thanks for coming in, Howie.
Pleasure.
I know you're here in L.A. every weekend. If your schedule serves, anytime.
Yeah, I'd love
My
to
house
come
is
down.
yours, please.
The rough streets of El Segundo.
Yeah, we'll make sure that you traverse them safely.
Yeah.
We'll make sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Great seeing you.
Maybe we'll get our hair cut together one time. And I don't think I'd ever say that to Howie Long before.
I don't think so.
But that's
know
a
how I
bucket
feel
list.
about that.
I got to say that to Howie Long, and I get to interview Van Scoten the same day. I'm just ticking things off the bucket list one by one. Thanks for coming on, Howie. I appreciate
it, partner.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.